hopefully this can stay out there and people can learn a thing or two.
Yeah, for sure. For sure, they will learn a lot from you.
Hopefully. That was
Mm,
always the point of my streams anyways, not just with Bloody Queen.
yeah. So let's start with the first one. It's from Mihana.
Alright.
Alright, my question is how to use BQ in big maps like Moonlit River Park or in other maps. I can use her, but in that map, I always tend to lose. For my second question, what persona did you use for BQ? And are there any different personas for her, or it depends on what map you got? So you could answer these first two questions from her, then I can continue right after.
Alright, perfect. So Moonlit River Park, it's arguably the best map for every hunter, as there's
Yeah, it's a hunter-sided map.
yeah, very good map for all the hunters. But
Mhm.
personally, from my experience with Bloody Queen, it's not her best map, considering that she could patrol ciphers more easily on like contained maps. Like you could patrol ciphers with her mirror image more so on
Mhm.
Arms Factory rather than Moonlit River Park, considering the ciphers will be tend to spread out more. But
Yeah.
how to utilize her on big maps is basically how you utilize her on any other map. So you start off the game, and if you know the spawn, then you could either insta-mirror onto that spawn, so you're already into a chase, or you could patrol, the random spawns. Sorry about the phone in that loud phone in the background. Um, but with Moonlit, it's just in the beginning. Like you might have a bit of trouble if you get a bad spawn. Like if you find mercenary into first officer, then
Yeah,
you're
that's
in
so
a rough.
annoying.
Yeah, you're already in a rough spot. Like one of the losses I had on stream yesterday was I found mercenary into first officer, and then I had to rotate all the way to first stop to find the seer, and then the seer took the coaster twice. So I'm like, okay, great, this is looking like a loss. But if you could get lucky past like that first spawn and you find your priority target, then it could be really hard for the survivors to catch up because
Mhm.
then they have to rotate accordingly. So there's no specific way to play her on Moonlit other than just utilize her in her normal way, like
Mhm.
utilizing your like mirrors and mirror image, or you could just end up chasing the first officer like I did and then end up losing the
Yeah.
game. But you generally don't want to do that. But it is harder to patrol ciphers.
On big maps.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Lakeside and Moonlit like are just like hunter like sided, and she can easily get mirrors off, especially in tight kiting situations because there's like
Mhm.
nowhere to kite.
Yeah.
But it's just in the camping sense and the patrolling sense, she loses a decent amount of pressure.
All right.
And the persona is downright, so trump card detention with wanted 1 point in wanted order and then 1 point into berserker.
Berserker. Mhm.
And yeah, so and usually if you could utilize the berserker, you could always get a double hit depending on how far away from the chair you are, or if you just get a
Mhm.
hit early on the mercenary rescuing end, which
Yeah.
genuinely sets you up for a really really good game. That honestly never changes. I never go up down with like control
Mhm.
freak or something. That's just the typical best build for Bloody Queen.
I see. All right, for the third question. How do you counter her? Wait. How do you counter her when you're stuck between her mirrors? Hmm. And
So like when you place the mirror and then like you're as a survivor, you're like running into
mhm.
the Bloody Queen. You generally don't want to like run straight past her, but a good Bloody Queen will know that if they place it in front of you, they're gonna cut you off and then they're gonna pincer you in. So they typically like want to walk a certain way. So if you're in a bad area, then you're gonna get pincered. Like this, like it's kind of just a sad truth to accept that you're gonna get clamped in on. But your best bet is to just start moving unpredictably. To like you'll see a lot of survivors just
Mhm.
start bobbing like back and forth. So the Bloody Queens will like like will sort of like anticipate the moves. So if I move
Mhm.
like back, at the same time that she moves forward, she'll try and move accordingly. But then if you move back, like if you move forward again suddenly, you should dodge the hit. So it's a weird process to describe, but it happens to me a lot in high tier where the survivor is a distance away, and then you just see them like bobbing back and forth. That's generally how you want to start bobbing and weaving if you have nowhere to run. If you have somewhere to run, just book it straight in that direction and pray the Bloody Queen doesn't pincer you in. Because if you're in that situation, then there's about a 95% chance you don't get out of it. It's really hard, and it's typical that you have to just accept death. But yeah.
All right, for the fourth question, what secondary skill do you use for her? I think she's asking about late game, like after you use Blink, do you switch to teleport, peepers, or what?
So if you ask any of my viewers on my stream, they actually make fun of me a lot because on Bloody Queen, I typically like don't need to switch to another like ability. Like you'll very rarely see the switch over. And this question is very broad because trump card is only there really as a reassurance that if a game doesn't go in your favor, then you need to switch over to another ability like teleport or abnormal. So if your game, if a game is going well and you have a solid like standing, you generally won't need it. But the broad question that what do you switch to? It's honestly very dependent. If I know I'm gonna like, if I know I'm in a good spot with like 2 cipher or at 1 cipher left, say, and those ciphers are in relative proximity to one another, you could switch to abnormal and then just patrol.
Bloody Queen mains switch to abnormal instead of teleport.
Yeah, and then they just start patrolling those ciphers.
Yeah,
it's a real tough process if the ciphers are ever close versus a Bloody Queen.
Yeah, I mean, if it's Arms Factory, you could just switch to abnormal and just patrol the ciphers. But if it's a big map, it's kind of
so. Yeah, so it's unless it's like that pincer moment and you see all the, and then you have a good like knowledge of where all the survivors are. Like if it's a big map and then you just see all these survivors gunning down that 1 cipher, then you're gonna want to switch to abnormal and just save the game from there. But like you said, if it's not in that situation and the ciphers are spread out and someone is on another prime cipher, then you want to switch to teleport. Or depending on if the game is going in your favor still and you just want an early teleport pressure, you could do that. And then just like you use Blink. Yeah, like you use Blink, you got an early kill, say you got a double hit or something, and then the game's going hugely in your favor. Oh, just instantly switch to teleport and have added pressure throughout the game. And then there's like, and you just increase your chances because you're keeping the survivors occupied. The more the survivors are on those ciphers, the higher the chances that you're gonna win, no matter what they do.
All right, for Geister, I'm not sure if this is Geister or Geister. Anyways,
I'll say Geister.
He's asking what character do you play when BQ is banned during legendary ranks?
During legendary ranks. So one of the things that I've always said to myself, if I wanted to call myself a good hunter, I would never like stick to one hunter and then be known for that hunter. So I could have like a so like people can't say like, oh, you're only a Bloody Queen player, you're not good in high tier, or you're only a Dream Witch player, like you can only play Dream Witch. I'm not adding like those players that you are very good at your characters, but I didn't want to be known for like, oh, they're like this specific like one character. Because like, you know, you would get some of those like, you know, trolls and like people saying, oh, you only play or you only play Feast or Bloody Queen, and I'm like, oh no, I don't. So typically it depends on honestly what I'm feeling. Like way back when in season 3, I used to be a photo one trick, and oh my god, you can ask the people back then how like horrible I was at photographer, but it wasn't that bad considering I had an 80 win rate at the time. So it wasn't that bad, but I did branch out from then, and then I stumbled upon the grace that is Bloody Queen, and honestly, I gunned down her S tier skin. I might have spent a little money on it, but I spent money on that.
I like this S tier skin. I envy you.
Yes, but it came with a terrible toll. No, not terrible toll, but a decent toll. I love how in the stream gameplay too, it's just me like giving Tay dungeon. But But what I am known for, like past Bloody Queen, usually, people would say I'm a good feaster player because I held first feaster while
Oh,
holding first Bloody Queen.
nice.
The first season, around the first couple seasons she came out, I was number one feaster, and then last season I finished first.
Well, I should ask you for a feaster gameplay next time.
I missed like my first three. One, and then I also I'm a photographer, and then I was good, and but I wasn't. I was like, no. But I'm also playing. I also played a lot of Wu Chang, and
Oh,
I'm starting to play him a lot more. I like
yeah.
to play stuff that's not like the best,
Mm-hmm.
but good in the same sense. Like I was a dirty feaster abuser like when he first came out,
Mm-hmm.
but I still play him now because obviously I learned a lot to deal with him. And then same thing with Ripper, but no one complains about Ripper nowadays since
Yeah,
they sort of
that's
know how to
true.
play against them. So yeah, just the tip. So around 6 different hunters. So
Mm-hmm.
it's
Alright.
whatever I'm feeling, honestly.
For Lala X Cargot. Oh wow. She
Oh god.
has 7 questions.
That's Lala.
Lala.
I
Alright.
know her. All right. So where to put Mirror when chasing, like before Survivor, after Survivor? So I'm thinking that she asked that in the sense like behind them or in front of them. I would hope that's what it means.
I'm honestly
So
confused right now.
yeah, so I'm gonna just take it as that.
Mm-hmm.
So usually you wanna whenever you're in a general chase sense in an open area with
Mm-hmm.
Bloody Queen, you want to put the image in front of them. This causes a panic reaction in nearly every single survivor because you're not going to run towards the thing that's trying to hurt you. You're trying to run away from the thing that's trying to hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
And that puts them in a dangerous situation to where they can go. It ruins their route. It cuts
Mm-hmm.
them off. They're like and then they're just all disoriented, which is really bad for them. So you generally just want to put it in front of them, then they react accordingly by running a certain direction, and then you just slowly you don't run straight at them. You just run at an angle, sort of like 45 degrees ish,
Mm-hmm.
and then you just pincer them in slowly. They're either gonna take the hit from you or your image. And if they take the hit, then they take the hit. There's nothing they can do about it.
Yeah,
If you put it
exactly.
behind them, yeah, if you put it behind them, that's never really gonna work because all they have to do is run in a straight line, and then we're like, it's pretty counterable. So as long as you have that over like bearing like presence on their kite and their route, it throws them
Mm-hmm.
off, and then they start to panic because of it. How to hit survivors with mirrors precisely? It's a
Yeah,
lot.
I'm
It
having a hard time
comes.
with that.
Yeah, it comes with a lot of intuition. Like that's something that's not teachable. It's a lot like game sense. Like you can't really teach game sense. It's a lot of just learn
Yeah.
from on your own and experience. Which Bloody Queen like really depends on is really good game sense because that's what determines a good Blood Queen from the best Blood Queens is how good is their game sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then that cipher pressure really comes into play, and that intuition and just feeling of getting good mirror hits from those long distances that gives you that oh yes feeling. But if you're looking for eye indicators, it comes with a lot of eyeballing and a lot of experience because you have to know also your relative position from your mirror and then your mirror image's position from the image itself. So that was kind of confusing how I worded it, but it's sort of just how she works and how the learned
Mm-hmm.
traits
So
is.
yeah, so in short, it takes a lot of practice and
Yeah.
experience.
Precisely. Like at the time when Bloody Queen first came out, I just played customs with
Mm-hmm.
players and then bots, and roughly it wasn't like one or two games, probably over 50 to 100 games
Oh.
of just practicing long range mirrors. You can ask Mumu, you can ask Dead, you can ask all these other top tiers how often like I played this character in practice runs. And it got to where the point it is now, and that's why people have trouble with it. And that's why she's as banned as she is.
Yeah.
Blink or Patroller, why? Blink always, because Blink on her is probably the best trait you can get. Well, Teleport you could do really well with. Patroller, you wouldn't really want to run Patroller because you typically get a free hit anyways with your mirror image. So if you push them in a position without mirror image,
I
then you
mean,
could just get an
what if
instantaneous
there's
hit.
a forward or a cowboy? I see.
With their forward and a cowboy, you should be able to pressure it. Honestly, oh my god,
So how do you deal with good forwards that can do
how do I
threes?
do a good
Yeah.
forward? Ugh, you're giving me sprints or flashbacks. Sprinter was just like probably the best example of like the best forward. There's a lot of like good like
Mhm.
no flame or no like shadow,
Mhm.
but the best example I gave was Sprinter, and the way that I dealt with him is you just have your mirror image out for pressure,
Mhm.
and if he dashes onto you, he has two things to worry about now. Whether it's
Balloon hit.
the yeah, the balloon hit or from either yourself or the mirror image.
Yeah.
And usually depending on how they play,
Mhm.
they're either gonna go for this like the short stun, and if they go for the short stun, they're typically not gonna the survivor's not gonna get that far away from you unless
Mhm.
it's obviously a long stun. So, but if they go for a long stun, they waste a lot of football.
Yeah.
And you generally right after the down, you just want to pressure them. You want to run at them. So if you run just straight at them, this goes for Cowboy too. You just want to
Mhm.
pressure them and just like sort of just bot onto them
Mhm.
and get them as much as they can. Like you make them use their abilities. If you can make the forward use his football, good, and then just immediately start running back, and you should be in a position to where you could hit him as he's either dashing towards you,
Mhm.
or you could bait him in to hit you, and then you just immediately drop the survivor, so it cancels that animation. With Cowboy, it's a little bit harder considering his ability has like little time to react to.
Yeah.
Like this is I've dealt with Blue Race Cars Cowboy for the longest time, and I told him his lasso, I don't know how he lands 99% of it. I'll be behind the biggest rock, and that auto aim will just destroy me. And it's just stuff like that that's not counterable. So you have to so you sort of just have to pressure them until you get a hit in, or
Mhm.
or they just make a mistake and then you can hit them like and play off of that, hit them basically. Against a good version, against like a really like pristine version of them though, like
Mhm.
of those characters, then it becomes increasingly difficult as you rank up. But typical pressure, just running straight at them to get that first hit, and then if you hit them without your image, you're in a really good spot because then you could bait them out with your mirror image.
Mhm.
And then if you hit them with your mirror image, that still pressures them because they're hit. So even if they do get the rescue off, then you could just easily chase them down, knock one of them down, and that's still a down for you. Granted, it wastes a little bit more time, but it's not as bad as what you'd expect if the kite was to go on if they were full health. Like you don't want a cowboy to be full health when he lassos
Yeah.
the person. I could not connect to this live stream. My Wi-Fi probably cucked me.
Well, as long as
Okay,
you
never
don't
mind. It
get
should be good now.
disconnected from the VC, that's fine.
Yeah.
So we're at number 4.
Is it true that Bloody Queen mirror hitbox is better online? Now this I wouldn't be able to answer because I never tested it. So
I mean, nobody
so
uses
what?
auto-aim these days.
Yeah. So I haven't typically seen anybody really use auto aim on Bloody Queen,
Mhm.
and I don't even know if that applies to mirror image. Like someone would have to answer that for me.
Mhm.
Um.
When can I see
Yeah.
more of AllForOne Guitar Shock? Number
Oh, great.
6. Toe reveal when? Alright. Alright, let's move on.
A lot of it comes from early season. Like right now, if you like with the stream that you're currently watching and giving everybody,
Mhm.
like I'm just mass playing her right now. Not to just climb like quickly, but to just gain as like much points as as possible. And also, I miss playing the character. She's banned like in 99% of the games for good reason. I can't say her ability is very overwhelming,
Mhm.
but
Understandable.
yeah. But the ban is understandable. It comes just because of the beginning of the season. Like I'll hold this spot for as long as like I can play her, but
Mhm.
the moment like that, people start getting into legendary rank and then banning her, then I'm probably gonna lose it. So that's just a way of life. Unfortunately, I can't keep it forever. But I'll typically lose it like within like the first month or even sooner this time around since we have a lot more Bloody Queen players now, which is I'm happy about. But Survivors not so much.
How do you pronounce this name?
And Giming Pie.
Gaming Pie.
I don't know.
When to use or to not use the mirror. For example, as a former BQ main. Early game, whenever I'm close to a cipher and tinnitus is activated, I would always summon a mirror to attack someone near the cipher. But as we all know, tinnitus has a big range and sometimes the survivor is just hiding somewhere. So what's your advice regarding this one? And also, do you do long distance attack towards incoming rescuers? Or do you usually wait for the chaired person to be rescued and then use the mirror to tunnel the second chair time?
Okay. So basically he's asking how do I like Okay, so how would I know someone is in the area? So this comes with the knowledge of the spawn points. If to be a successful hunter, like for any hunter, you need to know spawn point. So that goes for every single.
Yeah, that goes for every hunter based from experience and the number of matches. Are you still there? I think you got DC'd again.
Almost got terror shocked. Almost.
Oh, you're back.
I kind of cut out there. Yeah, I am back. Hello.
Alright.
Yeah, my internet's being the weird. Of course. During the one time I needed to work.
Alright, let's move on. Here's a question from Alex.
Could you repeat?
Sorry, what?
I'm very sorry.
Here's a question from Alex. Why do you always bully me in rank? You know Alex, right?
I am very sorry. It is a sacrifice that must be made. I need my points too, Alex. I'm sorry.
Well, he stopped one forward again. I just saw the leaderboards.
Alex is a very good forward. He's an annoying forward. That's a compliment. If you're annoying, you're doing your job right.
So for the next question, how do you kill an explorer in early game?
Huh? Like, how do I find them? Typically, or how do I just like kill them? Well, for explorer, I mean, it's just your basic survivor with nothing, no strings attached. You just have to find him, and
Yeah, exactly.
if you find him, he's pretty much dead because he's probably small, hiding in a spot, and he's not going very far because you hit him when he's small, so he loses a lot of that speed acceleration. So I mean, just look around. I don't know. I don't really know how to answer this one. That's a good question, but it's kind of just how you treat any other survivor. If you're asking how to kill a explorer in a tight kite, then you probably have to evaluate how you're playing Bloody Queen. But but yeah.
All right. For the next question, it's from Kaito. Do you have any tips and tricks for BQ? I'm not gonna read the other questions. It's been answered.
Yeah. All good. Yeah, Persona, how to survive, yeah, and how to camp. Yeah. Do you have so one of my like tips and tricks that I have learned from a couple Chinese hunters, especially PPX.
Oh, PPX is good. He's really good.
Of course. Yeah, that's how I watched. That's how I learned some of like the stuff that I know with Bloody Queen. I take a combination of every hunter's like that plays her and just mix it into one to sort of add your own specific playstyle, so it's harder to predict. But one of the best tips and tricks I can use for Bloody Queen, or a couple that is my personal favorite. So if you spawn on the big boat in Lakeside and you use your mirror image, I don't know if this is really well known, but you could use it to go to shore instantaneously. Or if you're on if you're on any elevation, you will teleport immediately down to the second level, which
Oh, I've
cancels a
seen
lot of
that.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it cancels a lot of time because you don't have to drop down, you don't have to move, and it just cuts them off very well. Another one is if you're going for a rescue, if there's a rescue going on in basement, if you place your mirror image behind, like a little bit behind you, not too far but not too close either. I wish I had a specific distance away from it, but all
Mm-hmm.
basements differ in this case. But if they're running in and you have the mirror image running up behind you, it sets up a good position for you to get a double hit
Mm-hmm.
on both the survivors. And
Oh
that's
well, I haven't seen
monumentally
that.
huge. Yeah, PPX did it like a ton on his stream, and I only pull it off stream. Actually, I pulled it off on one of my more recent streams, but not near the end, but not too recent. With a mercenary coming in and then a seer, like at the very it was against Psyche and Moo,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember at the time getting it off, and I was like, oh my god, I rarely get this off. It's really satisfying to get off, and it saves you like nearly all the time in the world because if you get that double hit on Merc, then it's pretty much the game is swung 90% in your favor. And he can't, and there's nothing he could do past that either because he can't even body block because you got to hit
Mm-hmm.
on the other person as well. So that sets them up for a really bad failure for time management. So there was one more trick that I thought I had. It's just, and also if you're going up in elevation, the image could also come up behind them, like on Leo's. If you place the mirror image, like as you're going up the stairs in front of you, the mirror image will follow up behind them and could hit them from a little bit below them. So
Oh,
as they can't see it, you can hit them. It's a really neat trick, but it's just hard to get off in some situations.
yeah. I bet it's really hard to pull off.
No, it is. Like I've only done it a handful of times, even with my experience as a
Oh,
Bloody Queen player.
all right. For the next question, it's from Hello Rewind. He or she is asking, how can you tell that you can hit the survivor with your mirror when they're far away?
So this type of question again, intuition. Once you get that like prowess with Bloody Queen, and then you just become that well adept with the distances. First off, you need to know again like this relates back to the earlier question with the relative distance away from the mirror. But once you get that down, first off, and then you go for farther range mirrors,
Mm-hmm.
it comes with an intuition of map knowledge
Mm-hmm.
of where you place your mirror image. So if you see survivors running in a certain way, like say if I put a mirror image by the small hut in Lakeside, that little
Mm-hmm.
tiny shack, and by that cipher, and I'm all the way by say a little bit by shore, like by shore, and then if I see the survivor on the cipher and then they move away towards that pallet, you can guess where they're trying to go and you can guess where your mirror image is in relative proximity to that cipher machine because then you could see them move accordingly away from the mirror image. So based on survivor movements, you can also make out where your image is. If they're running in a more sporadic pattern, you can guess that it's kind of close to them because they're trying to juke it out. But if they're running like in a straight line, then it's not near them because they wouldn't be running in a straight line. They would be trying to sort of juke it out. You have to read the survivor's movements, and it also comes with map knowledge and again that proximity knowledge. It's just a lot more to
Exactly.
Bloody
Mm-hmm.
Queen than people saying, "Oh, you place the mirror image and you just start swinging."
I think after this we have to cut the video and take a break.
It's all good.
Alright, for Rhyme Calico, he or she is asking, is Peepers good for BQ? I used that a lot for her at the beginning, then I would usually switch to teleport. For the second question, what do you think of many others who say PQ is OP? Do you think she's OP or she's balanced?
Hmm. So you want me to answer those two first? All right.
Yeah, first two
All right.
questions.
So Peepers, I remember when I first started playing Bloody Queen, I ran Peepers on her. So
Is it effective?
In the beginning, yeah, because people had no idea what to do against the character.
Mhm.
But good high tier players, what they have adapted to playing against Bloody Queen
They
is
would
transitional
juke.
kiting.
Oh, transitional kiting.
Yeah, well, not necessarily juking, because with peepers that'd be really hard to do.
Yeah.
But if you put a peeper down, you're typically not going to want to kite around the area with the peeper unless you're hit.
Mhm.
So you can get a free hit most of the time or some of the time, but with how adept some survivors have gotten with peepers in an area with a Bloody Queen, they know that they're not just going to stick around in an area with the image just running around.
Mhm.
So they're going to either try to stun you, or they're either going to just try and gain distance. If they gain distance, then they can transition away from that area, which is why peepers aren't generally like good like for her, because they're very limited, and they don't necessarily help you like securing your hits when you already have your image to already secure those hits for you.
Yeah.
So Blink is the better one because it could secure downs and then get those maybe surprise terror shocks and the surprise hits with the mirror image.
Mm-hmm.
So Blink is overall just what you want to do, and then Trump Guard switch to whatever the game calls for. Do I think Bloody Queen is OP? Now this is thrown around so often that the Bloody Queen is very overpowered, very no brain, no skill hunter.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's very typical to be thrown around a lot if you're a Bloody Queen player. And I'm with you on that if you're a Bloody Queen player. Don't worry. Like people saying, "Oh, you only use Bloody Queen to win." But I don't think Bloody Queen is necessarily overpowered, but her ability is just very overwhelming to deal with. And it's just something that it's a lot of guessing, it's a lot of different place. It's not what survivors are used to do, because if you go into any survivor game, you always have a set route on what you're gonna do. Oh, I'm just gonna run this route on a Ripper and then run in the straight line like it always has been, or this Joker's doing this. So when Bloody Queen got released and then Feaster got reworked, people started throwing shams up and saying, "Oh my God, we can't have this.
So,
these hunters are really good.
So
these hunters are overwhelming." Yeah.
So basically, survivors are just complaining because they're not used to it.
Most survivors, like
Yeah.
at this point, if you ask any experienced survivor, like Mumu herself, I reference Mumu a lot because I think she's the best survivor on the server.
She was the top 1 survivor for 3 consecutive
multiple seasons.
Yeah, multiple seasons. Exactly.
Yeah, and she consistently gives me trouble in high tier, even as the #1 hunter for the past 3 seasons. But I'm losing my train of thought. But she has adapted very well to what nearly every single Bloody Queen has to offer. Like she told me today, she's like, "Oh, I bullied this Bloody Queen hunter today using Seer." I'm like, and she's like, "I can never," and she's like, "Yeah, so don't worry, you're good." Because I tend to down talk myself a lot for some reason. I don't know why, but I do know why, but I tend to do it a lot. But she's like, "Oh, I just did this." And I'm like, "Oh, great survivor." But there is a light at the end of the tunnel when you do get used to her. Like this was like, you can recall like a couple seasons back too with the rise of like when it was just Soul Weaver and Ripper, the S tier hunters, and Clown, and it was like, "Oh, Ripper's overpowered, he might need a nerf." Like, it was just because he was very strong. And it was the same thing with Feaster. Feaster is just strong, and survivors don't like it when there's a typical strong hunter that they have to start changing their very one-dimensional gameplay to. And it's only the survivors that are willing to change their gameplay that really go far. I'm not saying that, "Oh, you're bad because you can't adapt." I'm saying just have a more open mind when it comes to facing strong hunters, and know that the game is supposed know that the game is supposed to be in their favor, not the survivors. Do you think she needs a? Do I think? Yeah. Do I think she needs a nerf? Honestly, no, because there have been plenty of moments where Bloody Queens just get absolutely demolished. One of the things I could recall, PPX getting nearly 5 ciphered by, I forgot whose perfumer, Miracles, I think. and it was on Arms Factory. He lost. He got 3-man.
Oh wow.
And PPX is arguably one of the best
Yeah, he's the top
Bloody
one
Queens in the world.
hunter.
Yeah, like he's arguably one of the best hunters in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So there is players that can just brutalize a Bloody Queen, and she is beatable with good teamwork and good route knowledge. Like she just like that perfumer just I was like, oh my god, like damn, like, she's doing really good. And yeah, but of course GR they're one of the best teams in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So they know that. So it's just you have like your adaptability, and I think Bloody Queen does not need a nerf. Honestly, she's kind of just in a fine spot. And plus she's banned anyways, so people are up in arms too with Dream Witch when she first started getting strong. Like people are like, ban Dream Witch, nerf the character. Granted, she's overwhelming, yeah, with all those like getting patroller 3 times, but.
Mm-hmm.
That's sort of the mentality every strong hunter goes through for a while. Like Soul Weaver got kind of nerfed, but she's still strong. Ripper, they wanted Ripper nerfed for a while, but there was absolutely nothing wrong with Ripper. It was just Ripper was just one of the strongest hunters at the time.
Yeah.
And then now it's just and then Feaster. Feaster got a little minor nerf, but still people are like, oh, great, he's just annoying to face. Like, okay. and now Bloody Queen is in the honor of taking that spot. So it's just strong hunters and just learning to deal with it.
Yeah, exactly. So for the fourth question, is there a way to counter her during kiting?
So I'm assuming that's during a tight kite. Well, there have been well, if you're a perfumer, obviously, perfumer is one of her best counters. She can waste a lot of the mirror images time, and she can route away from it accordingly. So perfumer is hands down one of her best kiters. You could say Seer because he does give that hit reset, but he only has one of them, so it's kind of iffy once you use that owl. But in a tight kiting situation, if the survivor knows the limits of what the Bloody Queen needs to do to get the kite off, then they could force the Bloody Queen to get an overextended mirror off or a close range mirror off. Like when they switch, typically when you see a Bloody Queen not get the mirror off, they'll switch a lot of the time, and then you'll see them like try to run forward with their mirror image and get a hit off. But then at that point, what survivors will do is vault a pallet right in front of them.
Just uncheesing. Yeah.
Yeah. And then there you go. The mirror image is no more. So it's just in your certain scenarios, you have to have sort of that basic knowledge and limitations of what the Bloody Queen can do. And once you get that knowledge, then you could do a lot of wonders versus